Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Wisteria here. So now this story is dating back to 1877 and it's called Johnnykin and The Goblins. And we'll get right into chapter 1. I could not tell you what it's about. It's my first time reading it too. How Johnnykin talked with the stone image of the donkey that was turned into a boy, and the cherub that flew out of the tombstone. That's what chapter 1's called. Wow. There is some illustrations actually in this. It might be worth me showing you guys. So, on a summer afternoon, Johnnykin sat on a grey tomb by a great gnarled yew tree, which looked as if it had been alive and trying for thousands of years to twist and wrinkle itself into very queer shape it could ever think of. Johnnykin was taking the portrait of a very odd little stone goblin, which was perched above a pillar of the old church. And while he drew away very peacefully, listening to the bees as they buzzed over the grass, a troop of wild children, bent on mischief, and headed by Bill Bowser, the very worst boy in the whole school, burst into the churchyard. "Hullo," roared Bill. "Here's old Johnnykin, a drawing a picture. Let's give him a rolling. Let's smash his fig for him," cried Sam Slaps. Saying this, he cruelly threw a stone at the goblin, which, if it had hit, would have put an end to the image, and to the story also. "Oh, fie," said Johnnykin. "This is very unkind and cruel. Remember what Milton says, He that would knock a statue's nose off ought to be whipped with all his clothes off." "Milton ain't the Stilton," replied the vulgar Sam. "Hurray, boys, hurray. Let's pelt the graven image. That'll break Miss Johnnykin's heart." Saying this, they all began to pick up stones, but Johnnykin cried out in great alarm, "Oh, please cease. Think of the changes in history which that little figure has seen. Do you not think you ought to be bad because he's not good looking? Remember what the poet says. Remember, though your form appear a goblin, should you for that be a snobbling? Spare, oh spare the crumbling gob. Do not pelt him like a snob. Let him alone, please do, and I will give you 6 apples, which I have here in a script. They have got around rosy cheeks like angels, if you want," added Johnnykin, as he took them out. "All right, old fella," replied the bad boy. "Give us the apples and we won't pelt him till the next time we want to. Just an apple apiece. Sorry, we haven't got one for you, Johnnykin." Saying this, they ran off, whooping and looking like goblins themselves, and then they went further away. They seemed to Johnnykin like little black imps, then like impkins, and then midges, sporting and vanishing in the golden sunset. And Johnnykin thought, well, he thought, Bill looked, well, like, a brown butterfly which you flutter by, or a tipsy gypsy with wings on the breeze, with red leaves of autumn, when storms have caught 'em, and ran them away from their homes in the trees. Then he began again to copy the face of the old goblin, but as he drew, Johnnykin became bewildered, for do you know, could the likeness get worse and worse? Well now, he said, sadly vexed, I've rubbed it out and drawn it over 6 times, and it's not a bit like him. Why, I declare, the face is changing. And sure enough, a new colour came over the stone image, as if the last sunlight had just passed into it and made it alive. And its shape, too, became different. Its nose was unlike the one Johnnykin had drawn, as could be, and the whole figure was thinner. I really think, said Johnnykin at last, to the goblin, of course, just as it had been alive, that your face is the same no longer. Certainly not, replied the goblin, in the most natural manner. It is much shorter. Your cheeks are more dilated, I think, sir, said the boy. Yes, now they're diluted. Thinner, you know, replied the goblin with a grin. Can you tell me why I'm so reduced? He added. No, sir, answered Johnnykin. It's because I'm coming down in the world. And he winked. Down to you. Don't you see? Whenever I get out of my regular respectable place up here, and I intend doing it now, and come down to your level, of course, I am no longer a swell. Johnnykin could not understand whether the goblin was trying to be funny or whether he was being rude. For all this was spoken in such quiet tones, and with such a droll expression of the eyes, that if he had judged by looks alone, he would have thought the image were nothing but polite. So he merely looked at it gravely and said, There once was a man in a wall, came very near getting a fall, for some very bad boys who were making a noise tried to crush that poor man in the wall. But a boy with a bag full of fruit persuaded the rest not to do it. Such conduct, thought he, it is easy to see, is quite unbecoming a brute, and all of his fruit he resigned, to just rescue the man he was kind to. So that man can now go as high or as low as ever a man has a mind to. As Johnnykin repeated this, the goblin's eyes opened wider, looking as green and extremely bright as possible, like emeralds. The corner of his mouth drew down, and he stared at the boy for a long time. It seemed long. It was all one to Johnnykin, who kept his great blue eyes fixed on the goblin's green ones as if it were a statue too. I say, cried the goblin suddenly. Who's going to speak first? You spoke first, replied Johnnykins. This is a game, sir. You've lost. I believe I did, Johnnykin, said the goblin, and very slowly nodded his head. I fortunately. Certainly. I owe you for your apples. You acted very well in that affair, by saving my head and giving all you had for my ransom. As the proverb says, handsome is as a ransom does. Yes, cried Johnnykin, Very much pleased, very much. I am pleased at this praise. As one may say, though apples were the cause of death, yet they have green life in thee, since what takes life has spared thy breath. Thou art cured by homeopathy. Johnnykin, said the Goblin, it can't be denied you're a character, and you're fond of poetry. I'm afraid I am, and I'm very sorry for it. And so is my uncle, answered Johnnykin. He says he will turn me out of the house if I repeat any more verses, and I can't help it, sir. Indeed I can't. And he wants me to be like Bill and the other boys. And indeed, sir, I'm very unhappy, said poor Johnnykin, looking at the Goblin with tears. For he had saved the old figure from being broken, and as the Goblin seemed good-natured, it just come into his head that he might get some good advice and perhaps some help for his troubles. So, you would like a different sort of life, Johnnykin, said the Goblin. Well, why shouldn't you? I don't think you're much use to anybody in that bone of yours, and what's of far more consequence, there is nobody in it of the slightest use to you. Me, well, I dare say they'd like to be rid of you altogether, and I shouldn't wonder if they thought you out of your mind. Non compos mentis, you know. Yes, sir, said Johnnykin. Those are the very words. Just what my uncle said, actually, this morning. He told me he wished I never would darken his doors again, because I make rhymes just as my father used to, and I draw just as my mother did, and have so little sense. And here Johnnykin, not knowing that he was rhyming, began to say with tears that filled his eyes, where have thy wits gone a-wandering, sweetheart, this summer day? Have they, like geese, been squandering their time among the hay, where blossoms blow and grasses grew so merrily all away? Oh, if I knew where my wits had gone, I'd surely let thee know. I would, I'd surely let thee know. 'Tis better they should go astray than have no wits to go. So there, sweetheart, thou'st got thy part, and plenty too, I trow, to. I hope, sir, he continued, that you won't consider me a stupid boy. No, Johnnykin, I don't. Some day you may live among people who will be astonished to know that you were once supposed to be troubled with such a disorder. But come now, listen. Tonight we have an annual meeting of the Grand Order of Goblins in this church. Would you like to see it? Oh, I should indeed, cried Johnnykin. I know I should improve my mind, but Uncle has told me I must never stay out later than 9 o'clock. As the poet says, to stay too late with Kim's a crime. We may not heed the hours, but shall, when we find out in time, a switch behind the flowers. Those naughty boys, who truant play, should think before they go, the brightest blossoms of their day upon a birch may grow. Not quite right, Johnnykin, my boy, said the Goblin, but well enough for poetry. Now, to the business. Your uncle and friends all think you are a donkey. Well, the truth is, if you only were one, they would be quite fond of you. That is all the trouble, and only trouble. Now, I think we can make matters right all round. Look over there, beyond the bushes. What do you see? Johnnykin looked, and through the dusk saw a young donkey gazing at him from between two special and spectral tombstones. "This young gentleman," said the goblin, "must help us, Johnnykin. He must go in your place." With this he slid down from his place, and, coming towards Johnnykin, took his lead pencil. I'm going to leave that part here, guys. If he took his lead pencil, then what's he going to do with it? The next part will be donkey. Thank you for listening, and many, many blessings, of course. Do bear in mind, it's Old English, so it's a bit different.